Hello and welcome back to another review, guys. Now, it's not a movie review. Today we're reviewing a TV show, which I don't do very often. I haven't done this for the Marvel ones, and I will. I'm sort of going to do the Marvel ones in order, you know. I'm reviewing those films in chronological order, so I will eventually get to WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If. But with Star Wars, you know, I'm sort of just reviewing the shows as they happen. So I reviewed The Mandalorian Season 1, I reviewed the Clone Wars Series 7, I reviewed The Mandalorian Season 2. So here we are, it is time to talk about Season 1 of The Bad Batch. Now, I will say this, I've already talked about this show in a lot more detail than I'm going to here. I'm not going to go exactly episode by episode, I'm not going to go over every episode. I'm going to sort of talk about the show more or less as a whole, because there's 16 episodes. You know, it's a big chunky series. But if you do want to hear me go episode by episode and get my reflection on the episodes with someone else, go check out my podcast, Off to the Movies. Link in the description. If you go listen to our latest episode, me and my co-host Ryan, we go over every episode. So yeah, make sure you go give that a listen. But anyway, today, yep, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to be a bit brief because I don't want this to be a super long video, but The Bad Batch. So I was really looking forward to this show because I loved Series 7 of the Clone Wars. I thought The Bad Batch, of course, the first 4 episodes were good. They weren't anything great, but they were good. The middle 4 episodes were okay. And in the last 4 episodes, Ahsoka and Maul, you know, absolutely incredible stuff. Some of the best TV I've ever watched, period. But the first 4 episodes of The Bad Batch, you know, they're the ones everyone's kind of reflecting on lately because they got their own show. I didn't see that coming, not gonna lie. So yeah, they got their own show, which I thought was a bit odd, and they wasn't very well developed in those 4 episodes. You had the leader, the Rambo type character. You had the muscles, you had the brains, and then you had the witty, snarky kind of background guy who has a sniper. And then, of course, Echo comes back. We all know and love Echo, you know. It was really cool to have him back. Would have been nice to see Fives, but, you know, he definitely dead. Poor guy. Mad respects to Fives. So you've got your team. You've got your 5 members of the Bad Batch. None of, you know, Echo has been developed over the course of the entire Clone Wars show. The other 4 weren't particularly super well developed. So I was looking forward to seeing what the show did with that. Now, I'll say this. From the word go, the trailers for this were fantastic. They were so good. The animation style was incredible. It's the best looking animated show I've watched in a long time. I almost sort of wish Marvel had done this with What If, because while I like the animation in What If so far, it's not as good as this, obviously. So I'll start off by saying it's a gorgeous show. Gorgeous. The trailers were fantastic, and we were promised, I think it was a 70-minute opening episode. I know it was quite long, around the hour mark. We were promised a long opening episode. It was all looking really, really great. And then it aired. And the first episode was really great. The first episode genuinely was brilliant. I loved that it opened like a Clone Wars episode because it really felt at times like a season 8 of the Clone Wars. Loved that. I loved the intro as well, where you see like some animated shots from Revenge of the Sith with Obi-Wan and General Grievous looking incredible. Wish they'd almost reanimate some of the earlier seasons of Clone Wars to have Grievous and all the other characters looking that good. And then, you know, we got to see the Order 66 stuff again. And I love the fact that we see it from Kanan's point of view. Now, to get a bit Star Wars nerdy here, I've read the Kanan comics where you see his point of view on Order 66, and they have changed it. They change a few things in canon here. Some of it is annoying. Some of it is improved upon, so I don't mind when Star Wars does that. And here it's improved upon. I think this is better than the Kanan comic. The Kanan comic was very quick. We get to see what happens to his master, Depa Billaba. And I'm okay with the change here. I know some people have the ump about it for some reason. I think I'd rather see it on screen than in a comic. So I was happy to see that, and I just genuinely enjoyed this more. You know, it wasn't just Kanan and Depa Billaba, and then Kanan's off on his own. Here you've got, you got Kanan, Depa Billaba, and then you've got the Bad Batch. You've got a few more characters there for to help to go through that scene with. So I thought that was great. I love going back to Kamino. Seeing this huge change, this huge shift in the galaxy of Star Wars, which of course happens in Revenge of the Sith, the Jedi Purge and stuff, and the Empire coming into formation. And it's great seeing it from other people's points of view. because all we've had, really, is Revenge of the Sith, obviously. We had the Clone Wars Series 7, so we've seen Ahsoka's point of view. We've got, Fallen Order. And there's a couple novels and a couple comics which touch on it, but very briefly, very briefly. So it's nice to see it from the clones' point of view, because, something that Series 7 of the Clone Wars highlighted is that the clones are as much a victim as the Jedi. They didn't want to kill the Jedi, they didn't want to do that. The chips in their head made them do it. So I thought this was great seeing their perspective. And it's interesting seeing that the Bad Batch were very divided. Of course, with Crosshairs not quite wanting to do it. He was like, oh, I don't really go with you guys. I don't want to. I think the Empire's right. We thought his chip was going, no, I think we got to kill the Jedi. Soldiers follow good orders. We got to do this. So I love that conflict. Episode 1, you also got Tarkin, Lama Su, the Prime Minister of Kamino. We got to see Sol Guerrera, and that was all great. And the action sequences at the end were fantastic. I honestly thought episode 1 was perfect. I'd honestly give the episode like a 10 out of 10. It really reminded me of how excited I was watching those last 4 episodes of Series 7. But then the show, it then becomes the show that we know. It takes a step back, and we almost immediately start getting filler episodes. Now, I think Rebels had a more clear direction in which way it was going. And I think Clone Wars works great because of the story arcs, especially in Series 3 onwards. Here, they sort of know where they want the beginning and the end of this series. They know where they want to get to. But I think they maybe chopped this show up with too many episodes because there's a lot of filler to get there. I found episode 2 replacements interesting. Bringing back some old Clone Wars characters. With the clone family. The clone who went and had a family on a farm. I thought that was good. There's always going to be questions with big Clone Wars fans like myself. What happened to them? So it was interesting actually finding that out. Episode 3, 4 was they were pretty mediocre filler episodes. They're not bad. I don't dislike these episodes. And again, if you go listen to my podcast, you'll hear me talk about them in more detail. And I will give you positives on these episodes. But overall, in terms of the overarching plot, they are filler. And in terms of character development, it's not really doing much for any of the characters. I haven't even spoken about Omega yet, I just realised. Omega, I don't dislike Omega. I know some people really dislike her. I think Omega does a fine job in this show. But, yeah, she's just sort of there a lot, isn't she? So, yeah. I want to go back and talk about episode 4, because I actually looked at the episode list here wrong on IMDb, because I've got the list up here to help me, and it goes 1, 2, 3, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, I've looked at it a bit wrong here. Episode 4, I actually didn't mind too much, because it was interesting seeing Fennec back, being voiced by Ming-Na Wen, I think is how you say her name, who's a fantastic actress, and I quite liked her character in The Mandalorian. It was nice to see these newer characters popping up in other Star Wars products. It certifies them into the lore a bit more, which I quite enjoy. Sound was good. And then again, you just have a bit more filler until you get to episode 7, Battle Scars, and episode 8, Reunion, which is where the plot really sort of comes back in full swing. Which is kind of how Rebels used to do it. It used to have a real big opener, big middle, and a big end. But it just didn't feel as fillery as this show. But anyway, those 2 episodes were great. You had the return of Captain Rex. We all love Rex. And I'm almost surprised they didn't just do a Captain Rex show. You could have had Wolf and Gregor pop up. And even the Bad Batch for an episode or 2. I genuinely think that might have been a better show. But anyway, Rex is back. We all love Rex. He's great. Reunion was a particular favourite of mine. I loved this one. I loved the location. It was the most suspenseful. It's the most excited I've been while watching an episode. And, of course, the ending. My favourite bounty hunter in Star Wars is Cad Bane. And to see him return gave me goosebumps. And I think they've done it in the most perfect way ever with the whole gunslinger type, old Western. The music was great. The camera shots they used were brilliant. Also, I like the fact that they kept the fight between him and Boba canon, because when he lifts his hat, he's got a huge metal plate like, up on his head. So I was like, I'm guessing him and Boba's fight still canon then, and he just survived getting shot in the head. So that was cool. And in episode 9, Bounty Lost was one I was so excited for, because we knew Fennec was going to return. It was going to be Fennec versus Cad Bane. But there was a little doubt in my head, you know. They said Fennec was just starting out here, and Cad Bane was still, you know, the highest paid bounty hunter in the Star Wars galaxy at this point. He's the most successful bounty hunter of the Clone Wars. And the fact that it was kind of an even fight actually annoyed me a bit. Obviously, Fennec was going to put up a bit of a fight, but I feel like in the end, Cad Bane should have walked the floor with her a bit. He has so many advantages, and he has the history of being a much better bounty hunter in the Star Wars canon lore. So I was a little bit disappointed there. But nevertheless, it was so great to see Cad Bane back. I love that guy. He's one of my favourite bounty hunters. That was great. Then we get some filler. Common Ground. There. Then we have a double part, which is kind of the only story or separated story arc in there, which kind of reminded me a bit of Clone Wars style, with Devil's Deal and Rescue on Ryloth, which is about a young Hera Syndulla, which was quite exciting. I love the character of Hera. Last time we saw her was in the game Squadrons, and that was kind of disappointing, I thought. So it was good to see her in a much better story here. This episode, the first part, really annoyed me because it looked like they killed off Senator Onfrey Tar. I know he's not a big character, but he plays a huge part in the canon novel Lords of the Sith, which is set after this. I think it's set 8 years after Revenge of the Sith, whereas this is probably only a month or two after. So I was really annoyed there, but in the next episode, they say he's in critical condition. So I'm guessing he survives, so the Lords of the Sith novel is still canon. I don't know, Disney, you didn't really clear that one up. I know that he's not a big deal, the character himself, but the novel is a big deal, so it would be nice to know if it's still canon or not. But overall, that little story arc was really fun. Did really enjoy it overall. It was nice to see a young Hera, as I say. Chopper is great. We love seeing Chopper. So yeah, it was a fun little double part. We have another filler episode, and then we've got a really great episode, War Mantle, which I did really, really enjoy. There was actually some character development in this one, I thought, for the Bad Batch. But I think I mean, it's not confirmed, I don't think. I'm really not sure. I haven't actually looked into it, but did they kill off Lama Su? Because I think they might have, and I'm a little bit upset. I like Lama Su, so yeah. But anyway, that was a really good episode. And then we're on to the double part of finale, Return to Kamino and Kamino Lost. And I think what they had here was an incredible idea for a finale. Bad Batch go back to Kamino to rescue Hunter. They have to fight off Crosshairs, and then the Empire decide, we're done with Kamino. They blow the facility up, and the Bad Batch have to escape. That, in a nutshell, sounds fantastic. The problem is that all the cool stuff happens in part 1. Like, episode 15, Return to Kamino, is fantastic. Really great. Probably best episode since Reunion or The Opener, which are my two favourite episodes. I'd say this is my third favourite behind them. This is a great episode. But then when it comes to the finale, you know, because at the end of this episode, you know, they start blowing up Kamino with the Star Destroyers or the Dreadnought, the Revenants that they've got there. And you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen in the finale? They didn't really leave the characters much to do. You know, they sort of just go up some tubes, up some pipes, and then they find a ship and they get out of there. And it was, you know, it was fine. It wasn't bad. It was just an underwhelming finale. I think there's a couple of issues I had. I didn't like how they ended Crosshair's story for this season. Yeah, you know, it might have been a bit generic, but I sort of did want him to go good. And I didn't like the way that, you know, Kamino had blown up. Clones, you know, I remember at the start of Season 3 of the Clone Wars when the Separatists, Grievous and Ventress, attacked, and the clones were like, this is our home, we've got to defend it, we've got to go back there, blah, blah, blah. Been blown up, and the Bad Batch really didn't even blink an eye. Like, Echo, we've spent loads of time with Echo on Kamino, and he really didn't say anything in this episode. Like, oh my god, my home's bit. He was like, yep, okay, let's just get out of here. It's like, dude, that's your home. Also, I hate the fact that you can sort of tell with the kind of last clip of this, of that Kaminoan scientist, I forget her name, going to some new cloning facility on another planet. That they're trying to make the cloning of Palpatine bullshit make sense from that god-awful piece of shit movie, The Rise of Skywalker. You can tell that they're like, they've said to Dave Filoni, can you just put a little thing in there for the, like, we need to try and fix this whole cloning thing with Palpatine. Our movie, The Rise of Skywalker, made no sense. So, it's annoying that that's going to probably come into play in the second season. And maybe however many seasons come on later. That there is going to be a little story arc there trying to make that plot point of The Rise of Skywalker make sense, which is kind of embarrassing if you want my opinion. Anyway, overall, The Bad Batch, I don't want to sound super negative because I really did enjoy it. It's a really, really solid show. And it does what a lot of the Star Wars animated shows, Clone Wars and Rebels did. It has and even Mandalorian, I think it plays the first season very safe. Which I think all of the other Star Wars shows have done. The first season of Clone Wars, first season of Rebels, and the first season of Mandalorian. Play it safe. And the second season, they go ham. You know, they like, second season of Clone Wars, we've got, like, the Darksaber in there. Second season of Rebels, we can see Vader and Maul. Second season of Mandalorian, they chucked loads of stuff at us. So I think I think we will, second season of Bad Batch, we will get more stuff. I'm just really hoping for some more character development because the Bad Batch still feel exactly the same at the end of the series as they did at the start. Like, Omega seems to be the only one that got some real development, in my opinion. And it'd be cool to see some more interesting villains. I love Tarkin. Tarkin's great, but I'd like to see a more physical villain like Vader, the Grand Inquisitor, or Maul. So yeah, overall, I am going to give The Bad Batch a 7.5 out of 10. Season 1. It's a really, really good Star Wars show. I would definitely recommend it. As I say, you've got that beginning, middle, and end, which are awesome. You've just got a bit of filler in between. But there are still some good episodes in between as well. It's an interesting show. I do really like it. You know, Dave Filoni, you've done a really good job with this one. I just think there's room for some improvement. And I have faith that we'll get it in Season 2. I trust Dave Filoni and the animated Star Wars team at Lucasfilm. They have done a great job so far with Clone Wars and Rebels. And I'm really excited to see where we go from here. But anyway, that is it for this review, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And as always, I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.